Hi, my name is Simone, and welcome to episode 9 of Art Like Everything Else, the podcast. Alrighty, let's hop right into our opening segment. So, our opening segment for today is a quote by Roy T. Bennett, and it goes, open quote, "Being grateful does not mean that everything is necessarily good. It just means that you can accept it as a gift." End quote. Honestly, I thought that was a really good quote. I thought it was really powerful, especially given that a lot of gratitude is often alluded to like the positive, and I don't always feel like that really has to be the case. So I was really glad I found this quote for today's episode. Before we jump right into the episode, I want to let you know that this is the second to last episode for this first season. Yay! Alright, and back to the episode. So when I saw that quote, it kind of inspired me to make this episode. Gratitude is often associated with positivity and triumph, and there's always this air of to be grateful for the good you have in your life. And so I wondered, was it possible to still be grateful even though there wasn't any good? Because yes, I do think it is good to be thankful and to show gratitude for things that are going well in your life. I also feel like maybe it is possible to recognize that things are not well, and maybe not only recognize that things are not well, but also possibly see that as a gift. Because sometimes that's really all you have in the face of so much turmoil. In previous episodes, I've talked about finding joy in the little things and finding things to be grateful for to get you through the day. I kind of interpret the Roy T. Bennett quote from earlier as being that, but on a grander scale. So like even in the face of a lot of destruction, or even in the face of a lot of things you'd rather not deal with going on around you, looking for the gift and just accepting that it is a gift just to exist. So I wanted to reference the conversation on grief that Stephen Colbert had with Anderson Cooper again. I referenced this same exact video in a previous episode, and so I'm going to put the link in the description box again just in case you like a bit of a refresher. But I wanted to mention this conversation again because there's another thing Stephen Colbert said that I thought was really impactful, especially for today's conversation, and especially if you kind of understand the context of that conversation. So for those who might not have the context, a bit of context, Stephen Colbert and Anderson Cooper are talking about grief. Stephen Colbert lost his father and all of his brothers when he was young, and Anderson Cooper had lost his mother recently around the time of that video. So in this video, they're both talking about their grief that they experienced, and something Stephen Colbert said stuck out to me. He said, begin quote, "What punishments of God are not gifts?" End quote. And I thought that was really powerful because sometimes there are times in life where we are going through so much that life does start to feel like a punishment. It can get so bad that it absolutely feels like I personally am being punished for something that maybe I don't even know what I did, but it feels like I'm being punished specifically. And so to kind of twist that or reframe that into what punishments of God are not gifts. And then if you watch the conversation, he goes on to talk about how like it is a gift to exist. It is a gift to simply be. And Stephen Colbert kind of goes on even further to talk about how even in like existing in that turmoil and existing in what feels like a punishment, he's able to learn about himself. And I have had those same revelations. I do learn more about myself even when times are difficult, and that is a gift. During times like that, I get to lean on my community. I get to know what it is like to be seen, and those are gifts. Even if how I'm personally feeling is not the gift, because I have felt like this, I am able to reach out and acknowledge the gifts around me. So, like the gifts in those moments that often feel like punishment, I find around me. But yeah, I just really thought that it was a very interesting way to kind of pivot that conversation on gratitude and on finding gifts even in these bad moments. And honestly, because as I've been saying, even when there are going to be many times when being grateful for anything is going to be hard, especially heading into winter now, there are a lot of people who struggle with seasonal depression. And with days being shorter, many people might forget gratitude because finding it can be especially difficult during this time. I do believe it is possible to be grateful even during times of difficulty. But I'm also not going to lament or act as though my personal experience should rule your personal experience, because that's not the case. I just personally believe it is possible to show gratitude even when it's difficult, when it is hard. Because sometimes, just like in those other podcast episodes I've kind of talked about, sometimes finding that one good thing to be grateful about is enough to keep going. Like, there have been times where on my worst of worst days, all I could be grateful for was that I could see the stars when I took my dog out. I don't care about the entire day that I've had. I don't care. I'm just grateful that this one thing was possible for me. And sometimes that's really all it can be. Sometimes you just have to look for the tiny thing to even see as a gift or to accept it as a gift. Because just like Roy T. Bennett said in the very beginning, being grateful does not mean that everything good. It just means that I accept it as a gift. And so sometimes the gift is a lesson. Sometimes the gift is something. It's just teaching me what I know now I don't want to do. And sometimes that has to be enough. But that's all I have for today's episode. Our closeout piece is another Tumblr post by user DJKLMNX, and it reads as follows. Before you go to bed tonight, remember that there is no need to be stressed. You are okay. You have time to slow down and calculate your next steps. Your whole life is still ahead of you. You got this. And with that, in quote, thank you for listening. Thank you for being. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.